All right, I've been reading a lot about Africa lately, and I thought I would go over everything I have read. I'm not doing it in the order in which I read them, which I think would be helpful. So the first one I read was How Europe Underdeveloped Africa by Walter Rodney. This one is kind of a general overview of the ways economically that Europe underdeveloped Africa, obviously. And I found it to be super readable, incredibly helpful to kind of understand the depths of it. It's something that at a glance you'd say, oh yeah, of course, but this book does a great job of really showing you how that worked practically throughout 500 plus year history of the interaction between the two. And I found it incredibly helpful to just orient my mind towards like, what do I need to be paying attention to in this, how this relationship works and how Europe is exploiting Africa, not just obviously through the slave trade and all of that, but economically, the relationship of colonialism, the colonizer to the colonized, a developed country to an underdeveloped country, all of that is put in this book. And I think he's wanting to help us to understand this isn't, the state of Africa is not just a byproduct of Africans not knowing how to use their own resources. This is a byproduct of exploitation, that Europe is as rich as it is because of Africa. And I think that was just an incredibly, he just hammers that home. The richness of Europe is a product of Africa, and let me show you how that is. So very, very helpful. Okay. King Leopold's Ghost. This one covers the reign, the rule of King Leopold over the Congo, the Democratic People's Republic of the Congo. So it's incredibly brutal. The stories in this, the history in this book is really kind of unbelievable. The amount of loss of life, the brutality of the rule of Belgian rule under King Leopold, and then it transitions to just a regular old colony after he hands it to the Belgian government. It's unbelievable that this history is been sitting right there for us to know, but many people like myself really had no idea of the details of this history. And the author, even at the end of the book, is just like, what happened here happened all over Africa. And this isn't 300 years ago. This isn't 200 years ago. This is 1905. Some of this stuff is going on. It starts in 1880s and goes all the way to the 1910s, and then continues in just a slightly less brutal form right after he hands it to the Belgians. So this is really heartbreaking. Okay, the next one. This is the Congo, a people's history from Leopold to Kabila. This really covers the 20th century from King Leopold, so back half of the 1900s. All of the 20th century, so 100 plus years. Really thought this one was brilliant. It's written by a Congolese historian. That's why it's called A People's History, and really gives you just a great overview, kind of decade by decade, of what has gone on in the Congo. Big crucial part of the Congo is the assassination of Patrice Lumumba. It's democratically elected leader in 1961. He was elected in 1960. This is going over who is responsible for his assassination, which was shrouded in mystery for quite some time. And this author places much of the blame on the Belgian government. And this book led to formal investigation into the involvement of the Belgian government in his assassination, not a couple years ago. So this is a very important book. The next one is the Lumumba plot, which also covers a lot of the same events, but this book is looking at more of Lumumba, kind of Lumumba's life. It's a bit of a biography on Lumumba, more than the last one was, and really it's just kind of reinforcing the theme, which is that this event was just so crucial in the history of not just the Congo, but really the world and Africa as a continent in particular. And so this book is getting into all of the players involved in this assassination, and really focuses on the UN, its role, which is kind of unbelievable when you actually hear it broken down, the role that the UN played in what happened in the Congo between them and the Belgians. Anyways, don't want to give it away. It's 500 pages, very readable, I thought, and a great place to get an overview of this very pivotal point in history. The next one is White Malice by Susan Williams, which covers a lot of the same ground as the other one, but this one is really focused on the CIA's, the US through the CIA's involvement in the assassination of Lumumba, but really just neo-colonialism on the African continent, which is basically Colonialism is ending at the end of the 1950s. How do we maintain control? And this book is focused on how the Lumumba's assassination was just part of this international design by the U.S. to control the resources of Africa. Last but not least, a classic, The Wretched of the Earth by Frantz Fanon. Frantz Fanon was just one of the leading kind of anti-colonial Pan-African thinkers of the 20th century. And he wrote this book, which is basically his thoughts on colonialism and decolonization and the fight between colonialism, the fight for freedom for those who are living in third world colonized countries. And this was really just an education. I'm really glad that I got to this one. Maybe you could read this one first, second. I read it at the end. It might have been interesting to read this one maybe after how Europe, but maybe read this one second. But yeah, really amazing. Okay.